heading home. I'm stuck in traffic in Los Angeles, and I am back to vlogging. And I'm sure for those of you who follow this vlog, you're very familiar with my vlogs that I'll record while commuting so that I can kill two birds with one stone, that I can create content and at the same time get from point A to point B. So just trying to use all of my time creatively and to my advantage, so that, you know, I can make some content. I like participating in the YouTube community. I like the audience that is starting to build for my channel, and the subscribers that I have. I'm so thankful for, that I really want to be making content, but I'm in such a limited budget of time that this just winds up being a really perfect window of time. So welcome back for those of you who haven't been watching for a while or missed my regular vlogs. Welcome back to the car. It's nice to have you. If you're new, I just explained why I'm vlogging in the car, so why ramble? I'm trying to be more succinct and coherent. It's one of my goals for the year. We'll see how I do. So what is this vlog? This is the vlog where I talk about Quarterly Stories, which is my graphic novel that I handwrite, hand letter, and hand ink, and then hand to you. Hopefully someday in print, but until that day it's available serialized online at quarterlystories.com. It's a very personal story to me about faith and mental illness, and this is the vlog where I document the process and the progress of creating that graphic novel, on top of being a full-time art director, full-time husband, and a full-time father. And now you can also read Quarterly Stories on your phone by getting the Tapas app, or just going to tapas.io, searching for Quarterly Stories. You can just add it to your library there. It'll notify you every week when there's a weekly update. I try to update every Wednesday the content of Quarterly Stories, and it's not as current as the stuff that I'm posting on Quarterly Stories, but it's definitely more mobile friendly. So, like, once again, go to tapas.io, search for Quarterly Stories, add it to your library there. It's 3 steps, and I know it's going to be hard to remember those 3 steps, so most people probably won't, but it's definitely worth your while. Once you've done that legwork, it'll remind you every time there's an update, and you can stay in touch and in tune, and also support my graphic novel that I'm constantly working on and pouring my heart into, and it would mean a lot. So yeah, so that's what that is. So I am heading home. It is Tuesday, and it's going to be kind of weird for those of you who are following this vlog, because you'll notice that yesterday I posted a video of my band practicing. That video was a week old, and it just sat because my computer at the time was dying, and so it couldn't handle a large video upload. The nice thing is, now that I am fortunate enough to have replaced my computer with a brand new iMac, I can now upload video again, and hopefully within a reasonable frame of time. And so if all goes to plan, I will try to post this tonight. So I have a couple other things that I need to get to today, and I have a topic that I kind of wanted to touch on. The topic has to do with fear, and it's just something I was thinking about at work. But before I get into that, I just want to use this time to also remind myself of my goals for when I get home. And why I'm doing that is because I work full-time making graphic design and illustration all day long on the clock, and the temptation that I will have when I'm driving on a long commute home is to take it easy, to kind of kick up my legs and not work when I get home. So I have to kind of remind myself of what I'm going to do, what my plans are to accomplish my goal of making personal work on my drive home. And so there's a lot of little tricks like that that I use in order to kind of keep myself motivated. A new one that I'm implementing is I'm doing a thing called the 48-hour art check with Corey Kerr, where we're going to basically check in with each other 15 minutes a day, every other day, so Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, to see how we're progressing on our personal projects. And we're asking 3 primary questions, which I would be able to recite to you. I have them written down at home, but I can't. But anyhow, you guys should check out that new show. The first episode Corey and I did yesterday. I'm super pumped about it. We even made an animation collaborating where I drew and he did this brilliant, kind of amazing, I think he did most of the work, animation intro for it. And we're going to be doing that every other day, alternating between channels. So if you haven't yet, go to Corey's channel, check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes down here. So other than that, I am basically heading home. I'm trying to remember to work on rough lettering for the next page of Quarterly Stories. That's one goal for the night. I need to finish an illustration for a client that I thought I was going to finish yesterday. It's a freelance illustration of a t-shirt design, and I thought I was going to finish it yesterday. It has a lot of figures in it, and so it's going to take probably another hour or so today to finish up. So that's a goal. And then because it's Tuesday, I'm going to play rock and roll with my band first and foremost when I finally get back in the Yellow Valley. And that's No Saboteurs. And it's going to be kind of weird because, like I said, it's coming up right after the video from yesterday. 2 band practices in a row. If you guys like the band practice videos, you're in luck. If you don't, hang in there. I'll have more art-related videos as we progress forward. So, those are my goals for the day. Now let's get to what I've been thinking about. So, at work, I have to lead a team, and leading a team is a relatively new experience for me. It's not that new. I've been an art director for a while now, but it's new enough to where I feel like I have to read books on leadership and management all the time, because leading people can get really complicated and difficult. And so I read a lot of books, I get a lot of management advice, and I also check out the Harvard Business Review has like a daily management tip that I find really useful. And today's tip was really interesting. And I just thought it was really cool, and I kind of wanted to share it with you guys. So it was talking about like a fear of public speaking and how to kind of break down that fear to where it's less frightening. And when I was thinking about this, I realized that this could apply to all artists. Because I feel like, especially when it comes to making your own personal projects or your own personal artwork, we're constantly having to battle and fight fear in order to accomplish anything. I know that I myself, like when I'm working on, especially a graphic novel like the one I'm in the middle of, I'll have these bouts of fear every once in a while, and a lot of them show up in ways of like self-doubt, or in ways of like if I get to the point where I get this and I decide to submit it to publishers, then I get hit with fear of possibly rejection. And if I get to the point where it's ready to print, then I have a fear of completion and maybe people not liking it. And that's another thing. So there's all these things that have to do with fear that I think hold back artists. And I know that, at least for myself, this is definitely the case. There are moments where I let fear kind of prevent me from doing what I need to do or what could be a beneficial thing. And there's all sorts of things I've been doing to work on this, but they suggest this little tip, and I think it's brilliant, and I actually think that I might start implementing it. And it's something I've used before, but I don't know why. I think, like all good advice, it was just one of those things that I have heard a million times, and because it's something I've heard so often, I kind of forgot about it and forget to implement it. And I think I'm going to start implementing it. So, what is the tactic or the way to kind of address fear? Well, so the idea is that you'll make a little 3-column list. And in the first column, you write down your fear. So let's say, hypothetically, your fear is submitting to a publisher. Okay, so you write that down in your first column. And then you make a second column right next to that is basically the category, what is the worst that could happen from this? And so, because I think that a lot of people will get to this point where they let their fears speak to them so much that they might actually be exaggerating their own viewpoint of what the worst thing that could happen is. So you write down what's the worst thing that could happen. If it's submitting to a publisher, it would be getting rejected by that publisher. If it's something else, then it would be something else. If you're a doctor, then it might be the patient would die, which is a pretty dire consequence and a pretty dire worst thing that could happen. But most of us are not dealing with people's lives on a daily basis, and that heavy responsibility that like a doctor would bear. So for most of us, when you put down what's the worst thing that could happen, it's really not that dire or bad. It's something like rejection or disappointment or something like that. That's more of an emotional hit, but it's not heavy to the extent of like lives are on the line. So, and that ties into the whole purpose of this list. So then you make a column 3, and for column 3, you write what's the best thing that could happen. And in this case, let's say it's submitting to publishers or something like that. The best case scenario is they say yes, and you get your book published and distributed well, and maybe get a little closer to achieving your dreams in that area. So then what you do is basically look at it all, and it doesn't necessarily give you a formula for a solution to your fear. What it does is help you to step back from yourself, and which your own viewpoint, especially when it comes to fear, is very subjective. So people get crippled by different levels of anxiety, different levels of depression, different levels of all sorts of things. And what this tool, which is like really simple, and I'm sorry if you guys already know this, because it is kind of an obvious thing. So, but to me, it was just, it seemed so simple that it was just a nice thing to remind myself to do if I ever get hit by fear. But anyhow, so the whole thing of this list, the whole purpose of it, is to give you an idea of how realistic your fears are. Because a lot of the time, the way fear or any other mental illness or worry or anxiety or depression, a lot of the times the way those things work is they exaggerate what actually is. So, perfect example, case in point, bringing up my publishing example. The exaggerated version would be like, and then everyone hates me, and then it's all pointless, and somebody's gonna die, or something like that. And that would be the exaggerated version. But if you follow this list, then you write down and you find out that the worst case scenario is you get rejected by a publisher. Well, so what? Like, that's not that big of a risk. That's not that big of a hit. And you can bounce back from that if you're disappointed from it. So that's kind of your worst case scenario. Your best case scenario, you got a publisher you really want. That's a pretty good best case scenario. So what it enables you to do is step outside of your subjective experience where things are not necessarily true objectively. And it causes you to have to quantify your fear and really step back and objectively view it and go, is this a rational fear? Or is it kind of silly? Am I being irrationally afraid of whatever step it is? Now, put anything in that list of like your fear. So, this is something that I thought was really useful. I'm curious what you guys think about that. Do you guys who are watching this, do you guys ever struggle with kind of crippling fear or fear-based thinking or fear-based decision-making or fear-based avoidance of pulling the trigger and making a decision on something. And if so, like, would a list like this help you? Do you have other ways that you deal with fear? I'm curious. It was a cool thing that I read, and it just has been on my mind, and I wanted to share it. So yeah, so much for being concise. I am now at like 15 minutes, but what I'm going to do now is focus on the road and get to my band practice, and then play some rock and roll, try to record it and play it for you guys right about now.
6 on that one.
6. Okay, got it. So when you come in, we'll go 4.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
On 2. Middle.
from practice. Now I'm going to basically try to get my comicking and that client illustration finished. And yeah, I'll see you guys next vlog. So thanks to those of you who subscribed, commented, liked, and shared these videos. It means a lot. If you're not a big fan of the music stuff, don't worry, the next few vlogs will be mostly art related, but I also still like sharing what my band is doing and the practices we're doing and stuff because they're really fun. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.